The pathologist report said that she was, quote, sitting stiffly in a chair, end quote. Legs extended straight, toes pointed inward. Black jacket, black lace, rhinestone decorated slip, black panties, black bra, black pantyhose, black Mary Jane shoes. Arms down by her side. There was brain tissue of hers found on the sleeves of her dress of her sleeve, on the sleeves, on the buttons, the buttons that made up her sleeves. Coroner Dr. Luis Pena said the following. Now, this is very important. On Lana's wrist, there were bruises, what he called resistance injuries. That was his exact term.
So she was fighting back.
This man said, Dr. Pena said that she had fought with an assailant who was trying to kill her. Furthermore, her tongue was bruised.
Oh, what?
I'm not going to tell you his exact quote about why the tongue was bruised. I'm just going to kind of leave it there and let you linger on it for a while and think about it yourself.
Her head was tilted to the left and flexed down slightly on her chest. Her upper central incisor teeth appeared to be broken and missing. A small bluish discolored area was noted below her left eye Lopez. A handbag was over her.
She wore a condom on her under her left eye.
What?
That's why they called her Left Eye Lopez.
A condom?
What the fuck are you talking about? How do you wear a condom on
Lisa
your eye?
Left eye. Lisa
Jen,
Left Eye.
Just
what?
That's what
they were called her left eye because she didn't have a left eye. That's why they called her left eye. She wore a condom on her eye? What are you fucking talking about?
Also, what?
Left eye from TLC.
Lisa Left Eye.
That's why they called her that?
When I was in middle school, I thought she had a condom. That's why I thought she had a condom. Someone said, maybe I'm taking this from middle school that I didn't understand. I don't know.
Why would you wear a condom?
I did not think my random ass comment was gonna lead to this.
Why would someone wear a condom?
I don't know. That's why I don't understand. Maybe I was just someone said that in middle school, and maybe I just took that information for the next 20 years with me and didn't know what the truth was.
I thought Lisa Left Eye Lopez was just like her fucking name. I didn't know there was anything else to it.
No,
I knew she died.
She died in a house fire. No, she set the house on fire.
Freaking...
She set the house on. She set the tub on fire.
God, we're terrible human
She set the tub on fire.
R. Kelly set it on fire after he peed on her. That's what happened.
No.
Okay.
He had flammable pee.
A small bluish discolored area was noted below her left eye. A handbag was over her right shoulder and hung down over the side of the chair, reaching the floor. A moderate amount of blood was noted on the bag. Her face was bloodied about her nose and right cheek, and blood was draining from her right ear. Rigor mortis was present to the extent of 2+ in the neck, 3+ in the hips, and 4+ in the remainder of the body.
Let me explain. I was very naive in middle school, and that was something that I took from a slumber party during 6th grade at someone's house that they said they were talking about condominiums. No, they were talking about condoms. They were talking about condoms, and I thought they were talking about condominiums. And I didn't understand, and they said that's why they called her Lisa Left Eyes, because she had a condom under her left eye, and that was something from 6th grade that I've carried with me my entire life.
It was probably the joke was probably she got shot, skeeted in her eye, and lost her eye. That was probably the joke.
I don't think that was it.
Jen, you're kind of like, what's that movie where the guy is trying to figure out how a condom works and he's like blowing it up? It's not a bad thing. Shit. I mean, I'm a hoe. Fuck. I mean, you don't want to be me.
I never said I wanted to be
Literally cannot stop itching down there.
Okay, so let me just say, Lopez was named Left Eye after a compliment from her then boyfriend, speculated to be New Edition member Michael Bivens, who once told her that he was attracted to her because of her left eye, which was larger than her right eye.
Oh, I thought she was blind.
So she had both eyes.
I knew she had both eyes.
And so...
All right.
So yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I am so sorry for thinking that for the past 23 years.
What did you just read? All right. So, all right.
I don't even know.
All right, let's go back to the house. I got to get this out the way. The cops show up after the gunshot. And Jen, stop. Seriously. The cops show up after the gunshot, and Phil Spector is in the home. He refuses to come out. He refuses to take his hands out of his pocket. And he starts to walk out towards towards the cops. You know, they have their guns drawn, but then he turns around and walks back into the home. He puts his hands back in his pocket, which to a police officer is like, well, what do you have in there? Is it something that could kill me or hurt me? So they tased him, which, you know, that's what the fuck they do, right? That's what you're supposed to do. The police tase him, which would be awesome to see. And then he was treated after that for a, quote, broken septum and a, quote, cracked spine.
Ooh.
He had neither of. He was just treated for it.
Wait, but that doesn't make any sense. He was treated in case he did have that?
Yeah, because the defense was using it as a,
he had these
like the
things,
police
that's
were
why
brutal.
he wasn't...
Yeah, like the tasering him was like police brutality or something.
Got it.
It's like, what? The grand jury transcripts, Phil Spector initially told police that he had himself shot her, but later that changed. Officer Beatrice Rodriguez was the one that he told that to, and he testified to a grand jury that he said that he shot her. This is going to be very important because he's about to say he didn't shoot her. Okay.
Even though he told the driver that he thought he killed someone?
Yes, he says, those exact words.
Right. I was paying attention.
But Phil Spector, being a pseudo-celebrity, has the money to hire, maybe you've heard of this guy, Robert Shapiro.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
The lawyer.
Yeah, OJ's lawyer. And
no, I thought that was Johnny Cochran.
yeah, I mean,
he had both of them.
Yeah, Robert
both of them.
Shapiro was
Yeah.
on.
That's right, because John Travolta played him in the TV series.
Also, he hired John Gotti's lawyer. So you can see these little details while we're going over it because it's going to be, they're going to try to get him out of this, right?
Another incident occurred. Prosecutors alleged that the defense withheld a mysterious piece of evidence from them. They claimed a torn piece of Clarkson's artificial fingernail had been overlooked by investigating officials. What's more, prosecutors stated that it was I who found the fingernail and that I had surreptitiously kept it. Such an absurd statement was then leaked to the news media, which then ran the story without checking its veracity. The fact is that there never was a broken fingernail found at the scene.
That was from the book, Dr. Henry Lee. So he is saying, and it comes up, that there may have been a broken fingernail. The reason this is so important, guys, is because is it a struggle? And he's about to say he had nothing to do with it. She killed herself. So let's go over the main theories. Number one, it could have been a horseplay accident, right? You think, they could have been playing around with a gun and just blew her head off.
I mean, who plays the gun?
The bullet went through her mouth and outside the back. The bullet didn't exit, but it was found still in her body, but it was straight through the mouth. So main theory number one, horseplay accident. Main theory number two, suicide. So this is what the defense is going to really harp on. They actually go and pull up Lana's personal history, her email history, and they try to prove that she was depressed and she committed suicide. She committed suicide, Phil Spector said, because she refused his sexual advances, which is probably true. She refused his sexual advances, which I'll tell you why in a little bit, because multiple women have before. And instead of having sex with Phil Spector, she, quote, and this is the exact quote, this is really important, quote, kissed the gun, end quote. Basically, she put the gun in her mouth and pulled the trigger.
In an interview with Esquire, Phil Spector said she had kissed the gun before shooting herself. I have no idea why. I never knew her, never even saw her before that night. I have no idea who she was or what her agenda was.
Now, he is saying that she kissed this gun and all of a sudden they're just sitting there and he's innocent and she puts this barrel in her mouth and just pulls the trigger. He didn't know this girl. He just met her that night. Yeah, she refused his sexual advances, but then she just grabs this gun and blows her head off, just right there in the foyer, right?
Said she was loud and drunk when they met. She asked me for a ride home. Then she wanted to see the castle. She grabbed a bottle of tequila from the bar to take with her. I was not drunk. I wasn't drunk at all. There is no case. She killed herself. It's anatomy of a frame-up. I didn't do anything wrong. If they had a case, I'd be sitting in jail right now.
Phil Spector did post $1 million bond. So when they say that, oh, if I'm guilty, why am I not in jail? Well, you did fucking post a bond. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff like that. They try to get the public opinion changed for him, which is why having those A-list lawyers, that's kind of what they do, right?
Yeah.
Gunshot residue was on Lana's hands. Her blood was on the exterior of the gun. She was shot while the barrel was inside of her mouth. The gun barrel. And let's go back to the gun right quick. I want to just look at this for a second. This barrel was inside of her mouth. It's
That's not a big barrel at all.
It's a snub nose, very small. So her lips were,
like
Sucking the thumb.
Ah.
I used to suck my thumb.
really?
now she sucks
Not her thumb.
I stopped when I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sucked my thumb for a long
Yeah,
time.
I
you
never
did.
had a binky either.
All right, so
I sucked my thumb. I
did.
was a bad thumb sucker.
I chewed my nails and I chewed my hair, which is a sign of childhood anxiety, which I learned later in life. I wish my parents knew that because that's what I
Interesting.
did, but they just yelled at me instead and said that I was going to have red tape on my fingernails.
My parents would put like awful things on my thumb so I wouldn't suck it. And they would put
Like bourbon?
No, like
Damn.
I forget what it was that they would put on
Vinegar.
it. No. And they would put like, I distinctly remember Mickey Mouse slippers that they put on top of the refrigerator. Like you can't have these slippers until you stop sucking your thumb. If they waited, I would have outgrown them. So they just fucking gave them to me because my feet were
I
gone.
always wanted character slippers were big when we were young, like the big
Yes.
character slippers, but I never had them. I did get the what were they called? The something feet, the sneakers.
Happy feet?
The
Yes.
sneakers. Happy
Yes.
feet. Yes, they were sneaker
I know
slippers.
exactly what you're talking
Yes,
about.
I had those. They were orange.
the barrel was inside of her mouth. She kissed this gun. So they're just hanging out. You know, he's like, I'm a little horns. I got this big old hair and I look fucking crazy. You want to roll around in the hay and have sex with me since you're in my castle?
Roll, Lindsay, hey.
She says no, like many other women have, which we're going to, talk about that. She says no. And then all of a sudden she just pulls this gun, which was hidden inside a little small table, pulls this gun
So
out.
she found it.
Yeah, found it. All of a sudden pulls this gun out, puts it in her mouth and says, blows her head off.
That sounds likely. Like she just found a gun and is like, let's put this in my mouth.
She kissed the gun. The bullet goes through her brain, which is why there was her brain matter on her sleeves. And then that's it. Even though Phil Spector said that, I think I killed somebody. That's the story they're going with now. And when you have a attorney like Robert Shapiro, isn't that Kim Kardashian's dad? Some shit like that.
No, Khloe Kardashian's dad, but that's
Is that
just
the one
a
with
rumor.
the penis? Who's got the penis?
No, Caitlyn Jenner was previously Bruce Jenner, but none of the Kardashian daughters were born male, if that is your question. And they say that OJ is potentially Khloe Kardashian's father, but that is just a rumor.
I don't know. This is what I think
That's
of the
a thing?
Kardashians.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Just
Yeah, I don't know.
recently, he was on a podcast saying something about it.
All right, anyway.
I had no idea.
So, 2 theories so far. Was it horseplay? Look at this. Oh, we playing cowboys and Indians. Boom, end quote. Or was it suicide? I don't want to have sex with you. I'm going to kill myself instead. Boom. Theory 3, murder. But friends couldn't believe that.
Tauruston friend Dave Kessel told Newsman he has been in great spirits and in great shape and feeling so good about everything. This doesn't fit into what I had known about him and where he is.
However, Captain Frank Merriman told the LA Times, quote, it's not an accident. It's not a suicide. Phil Spector shot her. All right. So what do you guys think so far? Did he do it or did he not do it?
I just don't see why anyone in their right mind would find a gun in a drawer and then put it in their mouth and then shoot themselves.
Well, maybe she was,
Was she cray? No, she said it was the year of her, like to expect big things. So I don't think it was intentional for her.
like even like
All right,
if you find it okay,
hold
if
on.
you
Let me go down this route right quick. I'm going to read her emails that she sent to a friend. Let's kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm just going to read this email, all right? Because you're too drunk. Quote,
I'm not drunk.
this is what she says to her friend. I wish I was busier with fabulous paid acting work, tons of follow-up mailings and paperwork to do, but the depression level I am experiencing due to major financial difficulties makes me feel spent and worn out. I was to attend that party tonight, and instead I'm going to stay home and veg, watching bad free library movies. I'm looking into other gigs. It's tough to find a job these days. I'm so tired of struggling to eat. Anyway, I am normally such a happy, positive person. Seems I am always in the dumps when you check in. I'm sorry not to telephone you tonight. This is a different correspondence. I'm sorry not to telephone you tonight, but this way you cannot hear my tears. I am truly at the end of this whole deal. Well, I'm gonna hit the hay. I'm beat after tidying up my pad. I really trashed it in the midst of my depression, trying to hold my head up high and know that God has many wonderful things in store for me, for all of us. Over here, things are pretty bad. I won't go into detail, but but I am on the verge of losing it all, just hanging on by a thread. That was her email. So,
Can I ask a question?
I mean, I guess.
Yes.
So he said that she committed suicide. She died by suicide. Did he say what the conversation was before she pulled the trigger? Because I just don't. Because I feel like if she did die by suicide, then he would know exactly what she said, and it would be so traumatic for him that it would just be more than she died by suicide. Number one. Number two, if you're out and about, even if you like, if you're struggling with depression, like depression is one of those mental disorders that doesn't it can be chronic and it can be an every single day thing, or it can be, a day where you may be able to get past it, or something happened good and you might be able to function as normal. I just don't see her going to a famous music producer's house and pulling a trigger on a gun that she just happened to find in a drawer. I just don't see that happening. And like, why would you put a loaded weapon into your mouth?
She was drunk.
But you would cock it and then pull it.
All you had to do is pull the trigger. There's no like safety and stuff on this. It's in the barrel. You pull the trigger and it shoots.
I mean, I guess maybe I just think that everyone has common sense and maybe everyone doesn't. But why would you put a weapon like that into your mouth?
Do you know what you're doing or do you not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. But I just don't see it. I just don't see the suicide angle.
It's hard. Yeah, it's a hard one.
Maybe it was an accident. Maybe she was joking around.
But wouldn't he say to her, "Stop! That's a loaded weapon. Don't put that into your mouth."
See, Shram just said, "I once drank and tried to crack my skull open." So when you drink, and you're depressed, you may do things you wouldn't normally do.
I mean, you have been there as well.
Yeah,
it is not a good place to be.
That's true. It depends on your mind state and where you're at. But I just don't. Like, she's in an unfamiliar place. Number one, that's the biggest thing, is that she's in an unfamiliar place. Why would she choose that night?
Why? I mean, why does that matter? She's in an unfamiliar place.
Because why would she go into someone's drawer?
Because most suicides happen
in a familiar place at their home
in private.
It's planned.
Because
it's planned.
But that doesn't mean that she didn't do it.
No, it doesn't mean that she didn't do it, but it makes it less likely that she did.
I would think it would be less likely that it would be planned in advance.
But
for sure.
But there's then that you take the planning away, so it becomes an accident, right? But still, why if
it's an
opportunity
drunk, in that person's mindset, it's an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. But what are you doing that you're going through his drawer and you find a gun and then you put it in your mouth? I just don't see it. I mean, I guess I could see it. I'm not in that person's mindset, so I can't say for sure 100%. No one knows except for her, and maybe even Spector, what happened. You don't know. The only person that knows, the only people that know are her and Spector. You can't say, and that's the problem.
I would think if I were to at a random person's home and I find that, I would have to be in the lowest state of my entire life to do that in a random home versus my own plan.
But if you look at her emails and her correspondences, she's saying that she's so depressed she doesn't even want to go out.
But she also says she's gonna have the best year ever next year.
Right, but I mean, I just don't
She said she trashed her whole pad in a state of depression. Trashed her whole pad.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it as a suicidal act. An accident is less likely than likely, but I mean,
what has to change both of you guys' mind? Where do I need to go? Do I need to go? All right, so you think it might be a suicide, Nicole? How would I make it? What would you need to feel like it's a murder? And why would it be? Why would he do that? I mean,
she refused his sexual advances.
And plus, so that would mean
did he have past history of mental issues?
Did he have any criminal record at all prior? I mean, he's
gonna throw his whole life away.
But I mean, but listen, he's a powerful man. He's a music producer, and he's produced for major stars. They've been to multiple places at that night, right? So
she was picked up at the last place.
Okay, but he's been to multiple places that night, so I would be remiss in saying that he probably wasn't drinking.
All right, he was drinking.
Okay,
you want to go? Let's go that route right quick.
All right, so they were both. We're all drinking.
Let's go to the alcohol route right quick, and then we'll move on.
Wait, me saying what I was saying, or you're saying what you're saying now?
You're saying that he may have been drunk?
I am saying that he has been drinking. He picked her up. He thought that it was a sure thing in the bag. All right. He's a powerful man. He tries to have sex with her. She says no. He doesn't like that. But also he knows that, if he tries to force himself on her, maybe he tried to force himself on her, and like she might come forward and say like, hey, this guy tried to force himself on me. What is he going to do? Is he going to have himself be a rapist, or is he going to get rid of the problem and say that this mentally ill person died by suicide?
Let's go to the alcohol. I told you it was a big night. We looked at the Google Earth. They went to literally 5 different places. What I'm going to exclude here is potential drinks in the limousine back and forth. And
the bubbly goes down fast and easy, as we can test tonight.
And the drinks that were found at the residence, open bottle of tequila, whiskey. It was a whole smorgasbord of cocktail material that has been drank by one or both of Phil Spector and Lana. What I'm talking about now is the night of, and we're going to see how much, if any, he had consumed. February 2nd, remember, he was picked up at 1900 hours. They went to the grill. So he went there to see this woman named Rumi Davis, which was a friend. Later at the trial, Davis would testify that the producer had never in the past touched alcohol in her presence, but now was suddenly ordering drinks, including 2 daiquiris at the grill. She would say that he brushed her off when she warned that mixing alcohol with his medications could prove a lethal combination. That's the first. So we got 2 daiquiris.
Strawberry.
They go to now we're not talking about we're not talking about in the ride, so he may have had drinks in the ride.
Champagne.
At Trader Vic's, the next one, he ordered 2 Navy grogs, which I think is like I think it's a Long Island type of iced tea thing.
Oh, I was thinking of a growler.
No, this is what a Navy grog is. It is a, quote, frilly presentation cocktail containing...
It looks delicious.
Containing... So he ordered 2 of these, containing 3 shots of rum each. We got 2 daiquiris now.
That's also a rum drink.
We got 2 daiquiris now and 6 shots of rum. And we're only at the second place.
Puerto Rican rum, grapefruit juice, club soda, mint, and...
Next, they went to the foundation room at the House of Blues, and he had at least 1 shot of rum.
What's in a pink stiletto?
Why is the rum gun?
Can you look up pink stiletto?
That is a brand.
All right. He had at least 1 shot of rum. All right. Over the last 8 years, Phil Spector has been consuming daily Prozac, Klonopin, Neurotonin, and others he could not recall at the time. His symptoms included the following: sleepiness, depression, mood changes, swings, and I like this one because this reminds me of me. Quote, hard to live with, end quote.
You?
Also hard to concentrate.
I said nothing. I did not say a thing.
I don't know if that do you think that's John?
Phil Spector said his symptoms were, quote, hard to live with. And then he says hard to concentrate. Then he says, quote, hard, just hard, a hard time getting through life, end quote. So he also reported saying that he was a genius, but you know how they say genius, borderline insanity?
Yeah.
He says
crazy equals genius. It's a Panic at the Disco song.
He says that he is a genius most times, but the other times he is literally borderline insane. So does that answer your alcohol questions?
So he's drinking.
He's drinking a lot, and he's taking pills. Not only that, the briefcase that the chauffeur brought to him 20 minutes after they parked.
Was there a weapon in that briefcase?
There was no weapon in it. The weapon was in a side drawer. He has plenty of firearms. Plenty. He's known for firearms.
Okay.
I mean, the quote that we read at first, like he's this guy with flat foot, whatever. He's known for his firearms, right? I mean, he actually threatened John Lennon at one point.
Shame on him.
But
threatening a pacifist.
I mean, he should have fucking shot him. Shit.
Well, joke's on you. John Lennon was shot.
Yeah,
John Lennon was shot on December
Awkward. I think it was
December
8th.
The briefcase found a few feet away from the dead body was open, and 2 of the 3-pack of little blue pills, which is what, Jen?
Niagara.
Were gone. So he had consumed
That
2
was
Viagra.
like a thing back then?
2003.
Yeah, dude. What the fuck?
Really?
Yeah, it was like an
you're thinking
80s.
you're thinking of Phil Spector circa 1960s for your music
All right.
album, but this murder happened in 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot more recent than I'm thinking in my head. I'm also drunk.
It's okay.
my birthday.
I'm just reminding you.
Let's go over past histories here.
Diane Ogden, once a friend and talent caster, said she was the last guest at a dinner party Spector hosted in 1989. When she leaned over to kiss him goodbye, he brandished a rifle and screamed obscenities at her. He then got a handgun and pressed the nose of it against her face. He ordered her into his bed and attempted to have sexual intercourse with her, but did not.
Maybe he couldn't get it up.
He was not my Phil. He wasn't the man I loved. I mean, I cared about this man, and it wasn't him.
It was like he was demonic. Dorothy Melvin, which was Joan Rivers' manager, said of one encounter she had with Phil Spector the following, quote, "I was sobbing. Why are you doing this, Phil?" At this point, she was at gunpoint.
Oh, damn.
She was, quote, "ordered to undress," end quote. She ran away just as Phil Spector picked up his shotgun and started waving it at her. So, one waitress, Melissa Grosvenor, also refused his sexual advances. Quote, "I said no, and he said, I've got machine guns and I know where you live."
Damn.
End quote. Crazy. Eh? Let's hear from Alan Jackson. Alan,
The Alan Jackson,
Well,
who you are a fan club member of.
Deputy District Attorney Alan Jackson.
Wow. Oh my God. I love you, but I hate you.
Did you see the picture I sent you when I was in Nashville of the Alan Jackson cutout that I sent
No,
you?
I have you going to spam.
He got that Stetson hat.
Deputy District Attorney Alan Jackson was gone country. Look at them
Come
tits.
on down to the Chattahoochee.
Look at them boots.
Oh, look at them boots. She's gone country. Look at that butthole.
Oh,
He says that he wanted to expose Phil Spector as a dangerous gun nut who has a, quote, very rich history of violence, end quote.
He put a loaded pistol in her mouth and shot her to death, the prosecutor said, adding that the prosecutors would present blood splatter evidence indicating Spector was within 3 feet of the victim at the time of her death. He branded the shooting as simply the last of a very long line of women who have been victimized by him, and stated that in each case, a drunken Spector pulled a weapon on a woman he was sexually interested in when she tried to leave his residence. What emerged, Jackson said, is a picture of Phil Spector as a man who, when confronted with the right circumstances in the right situation, turned sinister and deadly.
The deputy district attorney said the following: "This case is about a man who had a history of playing Russian roulette with the lives of women. 5 women got the empty chamber. Lana got the 6th bullet."
Ooh.
Phil Spector's DNA was not found on the gun. His fingerprints were not found on the gun.
Did he have gloves?
However, there was an undetermined male, undetermined person fingerprint on the gun, and Lana's fingerprint was on the gun. When you're Phil Spector or any actor in Hollywood, you can hire the best attorneys. Robert Shapiro was one of his attorneys as OJ's lawyer. He would say the following, quote, "I am convinced that the thorough and accurate investigation of the evidence by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, its criminalist, and the county coroner will prove that Phil Spector is innocent of any crime." Bruce Cutler, who became the prime attorney later, he is the defense attorney who fought for John Gotti, said the following.
oh.
Cutler, who once represented mob boss John Gotti, claimed that the night of Clarkson's death, police crashed into Spector's home like stormtroopers, attacked him, hogtied him, tasered him, and figuratively punched him around until he said something. He further held that the statements were inadmissible because the police had not read the producer his Miranda rights.
DNA residue from both of Lana's hands and her tongue were pulled in these adhesive lift samples. I'm thinking it's like tape, and you pull them. Number 1, she may have discharged a firearm or had her hands in the environment. Okay, so we know that. 2, the upper surface of her tongue may have been in the environment of gunshot residue or received gunshot particles from an environmental source. So this is the book we're reading is from the pathologist guy, right?
Right.
Under UV light, a small amount of fibrous material was on the upper portion of her slip, which is the thing she was wearing. Small white material was on the dress, a piece of coarse dark hair between her breast. Lipstick was container was inside of her bra. She had blood trailing down her jacket, a chipped, broken right thumbnail, which was never found. That was what this guy was accused of stealing, and he didn't. The official cause of death was a gunshot to her head and neck, entering mouth front to back and slightly upward. No exit wound. Bullet found embedded in the occipital bone. Other injuries, this is very important. Facial bone fractures, fracture of the hard palate, upper two cervical vertebrae, skull bones, tongue laceration, fracture of the esophagus, which is the gullet, back of the throat, cervical spinal cord, various hemorrhages within the brain. Official reports said that officers, quote, found Clarkson's teeth scattered around the back foyer while a gun was found a few feet from her body, end quote. So where's everyone else at now? Did she randomly pull this gun that she had no idea where it was and put it into her mouth, blow her head off?
No, I think that
the gun did not contain Phil Spector's
DNA
fingerprints.
But listen.
At all?
But there was on Phil Spector splatter from Lana. It was her blood splatter, which the prosecutors said that he was in the vicinity, so he wasn't just upstairs and heard a loud bang. She blows her head off and the blood splatter gets on his shirt. But the defense for Phil Spector said that's not what happened. Phil Spector was not in the vicinity. They brought up a new theory which has never been brought up before. She was not dead she was not dead immediately after she shot herself in the mouth. Phil Spector runs downstairs and like a quote bazooka, she is choking to death and then choked some of that blood that appears to be splatter on Phil Spector's shirt.
Well, we went through some of the myriad of medications that Spector was on. Did they do a toxicology report? Or did she only have alcohol in her system, or was there another were there other substances? Because, I mean, if you give her something like Xanax, like he was on.
So you're saying that she killed herself?
No, I'm not. I'm saying if she consumed something like Xanax that he was on, which was under a prescription that he had.
He wasn't on Xanax.
Yes, it was. You read it out loud.
Yeah.
You did.
Not Xanax.
You did. You
He
said
was
Xanax.
on a whole lot of prescriptions.
Jen, I never said he was on Xanax, okay? He was on the following: Prozac, Klonopin, Neurotonin, and
Klonopin is similar to Xanax. Sorry. That's where I went Xanax.
all right, so let me tell you that the book I read from Dr. Henry Lee, the pathologist who was the first to look at the body, said nothing in the book about her toxicology. So I have no idea what she was on.
But maybe, I mean, if they're partying, maybe he gave her a pill and maybe he had her hands on, like if you have the gun in your hand.
Why would she have the gun in her hand?
Well, she wouldn't, except for the fact that maybe she was passed out and maybe he put the gun in her hand and pulled the trigger.
All right, so there was blood found not even near the body. Let's establish some facts. The body was moved. Okay, the body was moved. There's blood. There's no way blood could have traveled as far as it did. She was down the stairs in the foyer. Something happened. Either she pulled the trigger or whatever. But he moved the body. That's not killing her. That's
maybe he
But
had
still,
gloves
it
on.
happened within his presence, and that's malicious.
No, we're talking about murder or not. Murder or suicide.
I get it. I listened to Darlene Love. Fuck it.
So do you think yay
I
or
don't
nay?
know.
Yay or nay?
I don't know.
To me personally, I mean, y'all didn't even bring up the fact that the chauffeur said, "I think I killed somebody," because that was a big thing.
No, he said it to the chauffeur.
Yes, but why? What do you think the defense did with that? Robert Shapiro.
He said that it was a translation problem because the chauffeur was Brazilian.
There you go. Fantastic.
Ooh, good, Jen.
Fantastic. So you see how complicated this case is at this point.
But the chauffeur had been working in America for quite some time, correct? You said he was a former police officer.
4 years.
Okay, but you should know by 4 years.
No. There's actual.
Yeah.
He testified a lot, and there were mistakes that he made semantically wise. Wrong places of nouns and pronouns, stuff like that, or whatever. You can tell he's not a native speaker. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So, quote, "I think I killed somebody."
Could be somebody killed themselves.
Are you sure it didn't mean, I think somebody is killed or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It is 5 a.m, like, and he's yelling it. Is it? So stuff like this is very important when you have someone like Robert Shapiro doing this case, because he's going to bring up all this stuff. Plus they're going to heavily go through Lana's background and only bring up the fact that she was suicidal. I mean, you saw, I read
But
earlier.
she never said anything about suicide. She just said she was depressed.
Agree.
No,
And she was going to have the best fucking year ever.
quote, I am on the verge of losing it all, just hanging on by a thread, end quote. That
does not mean that you are suicidal.
Yeah, agree.
I'm just saying, it
I
does not look good.
I know what you're saying, but
Okay.
on the
All right, his fingerprints was not on the gun. We don't know if he had actually. So if you're going to question the chauffeur's lack of knowledge about the language, you might as well discount the fact that he even saw the gun in his hand in the first place. And if it was even the same gun, you don't even know, because the gun was found, but it didn't have Phil Spector's fingerprint on it, but it still had blood stains on it from her. So what, did he wipe off his fingerprints and not smear the blood around?
or he had gloves on.
So you're saying that he had his gloves on, and what, he put it in her mouth, that gun in her mouth? All right, so let's end this up. So he was booked for murder. All right, the first trial was a hung jury, mistrial. They couldn't decide if he did it or not. The second trial, they did find him guilty though, and he was sentenced. This was in 2007 when that trial began, and he was sentenced to 20 years, and he would be able to parole in 2028. All right, what do you guys think of that? So is he still in prison?
No. Did he die?
So Phil Spector died last year. Date of death, January 16th, 2021. He died in the prison hospital. So he died of COVID. So rest in hell, you piece of shit. To me, this is what the case is. He would brandish these weapons in front of all these women because no one wants to have sex with him, because he looks like a fucking maniac, right? Like, let me show you this guy. I mean, this is who they
You
want.
already showed us a picture. I
who-
wouldn't have sex with him.
This is who he is now. Like,
No, he's dead now.
I get it, Jim, but like, you want to have sex with me?
No, thank
like,
you.
You look like a fucking weirdo. No, I don't want to have sex with you. He pulls out a gun, which he's done plenty of times. There's actually a famous photo of him pulling out a gun to a reporter, and his bodyguard was trying to cover him before he did it. But yeah, this is him. This guy is a gun-wielding maniac. He has threatened not only all the women he's ever tried to have sex with, but also that famous Beatle and most of the people he tried to produce music for. He always pulls out his gun. I don't think he thought that it was loaded, but the one thing that really does it for me, do you remember way back earlier this episode, I told you that there was a bruise on her tongue?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is from the coroner, Dr. Louis Pena. The bruise was very unique. It was to the upper side of her tongue and is consistent with blunt force trauma. Something struck the tongue. Barrel pushed inside mouth. So the barrel, from what this coroner is saying, was forced into her mouth. Why is there no fingerprints? The same reason he was holding that gun that the chauffeur, the same gun. End of story. He's Brazilian, but he was a highly competent military leader in Brazil. He's not going to lie about this stuff. He didn't give a shit about Phil Spector. He just wants, so he saw a gun. It's the same gun. Phil Spector just wiped off his fingerprints and the blood was still on the hand or whatever. His fingerprint didn't touch that. He had forced that gun inside her mouth. Everyone knows it. He forced it. She turned him down sexually. He takes this gun like he's done countless other people. We've read literally 5 accounts where he's done the same shit, pushing rifles up to people's noses, girls' noses. They've turned him down. All this shit. He's done it. But this time it goes off. It actually fucking fires. Maybe he didn't mean to fire. Maybe he didn't think it had a bullet, but guess what? It fucking went off and killed her. He's done it so many times before, but this is the time it fucking went off and he killed her. So he got 20 years and he fucking died last year, and I don't give a fuck. Exactly what I think he's supposed to happen to him. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
Oh, I would agree that he is guilty.
So I don't know.
Thank you for finally covering this case.
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be 2.5 hours. Shit.
That's great.
Well, we had a fun time.
Yeah, but anyway, that was my, obviously we don't know, right? He's fucking dead now, and I mean,
He maintained his innocence.
I was let me read you one last thing from what the actual guy who wrote the book. The trial was basically proven Lana. They would bring out her background as being topless, being a call girl. They just made her look like shit, and I think that's kind of terrible. terrible. But anyway, this guy, I'm going to read this one little closing argument that this foreigner that I read the book says, quote, "My feeling about the trial is that it went counter to what I have always believed is at the core of the American justice system, a sense of fairness and truth. It appears to me that a full 162 days of trial consisted of little more than attacks on the victim, attacks on the suspect, and attacks on the defense witnesses. Especially galling were references that expert defense witnesses were all, quote, hired guns. The amount of time and money and the prosecution expended in trying to dig up some dirt by checking backgrounds, income tax reports, and other personal affairs far exceeded what was necessary to unearth the facts to seek the truth," end quote. That's what you get when a celebrity has access to all the money and the best attorneys. They're going to try to, and this whole fucking thing lasted years. All right, until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.